Mater. Rusty, cross-eyed, talks with that thick country accent, always blurting out random nonsense. And then this same Mater in Cars 2 suddenly opens fire with 2 6-barrel Gatling guns that pop out of the side panels of his body. Where the hell does a tow truck get Gatling guns from? And more importantly, how does he even fire them? He doesn't have hands. Turns out, Cars is actually a fully developed military world. Espionage, intelligence agencies, orbital lasers, combat trimarans, World War II veterans, entire squadrons wiped out over the Pacific. And the weapons in this world operate by rules that are right under our noses, but nobody pays attention. Most people watch Cars 2 as a dumb spy action movie with broken logic. But the real picture looks completely different. If cars don't have hands, don't have fingers, can't even open a door on their own, and I'll get to that part separately. Because it's insane, then how do they physically pull a trigger? How does Finn McMissile launch a rocket from his left headlight? How did Skipper Riley hose down Japanese battleships with 6 heavy machine guns? Let's break it down. Hey, Mr. Blessed here. So getting back to Mater, the guy is loaded out for war. He's got dual Gatling guns, retractable rocket boosters in the back, an orange paraglider, a holographic disguise emitter hidden inside the rotating beacon light on his roof, a HUD projection beaming tactical info straight into his eyes, and according to the official Mattel toys, there's literally a bomb built into his engine. This is a tow truck, guys. A country tow truck from Radiator Springs. But the craziest part is how he fires all of this. Remember this moment, we're coming back to it. Mater has an onboard computer with voice recognition. Just voice control. Literally like Jarvis with Tony Stark. When he says his signature dadgum, which to him means something like gosh darn it, the computer phonetically hears Gatling gun and just pops out the Gatling guns. And when he says shoot, which to him means darn it, the voice assistant hears shoot as in open fire and starts blasting. The dude literally shoots because he's cursing. Mater spends the entire movie running from assassins and accidentally firing Gatling guns because he's nervous and swearing. And in that same scene, by the way, the same shoot command in midair deploys his parachute. So one voice trigger does either fire or parachute depending on context. This is the dumbest and at the same time the most genius engineering setup I've seen in a cartoon. Just follow the thought. Their weapon system doesn't need fingers because it's entirely voice-driven. That's the answer to the main paradox. You don't need hands, you only need words. Let's keep building the puzzle. If Mater does everything through voice, that means the entire universe is built on this principle. Finn McMissile, that British legend whose design is pulled from a classic Aston Martin DB5 mixed with a Peerless GT. He's got a rocket launcher in his left headlight, a spy camera in his right, 4 boarding grappling hooks tucked into his bumper teeth, a holographic disguise emitter, magnetic mines on his undercarriage, hydrofoils, retractable underwater wings, and the coolest part of submarine mode. His rear wheels transform into propellers, stabilizers extend out, and he just glides underwater. And he activates all of this with his mind. He just thinks fire, and the headlight turns into a rocket launcher. He just thinks grapple, and a hook shoots out of the front bumper. By the logic of this world, a car's wiring is its nervous system. The brain is in the cabin. The engine works as the heart. And when Finn sends a nerve impulse down his wiring to a rocket solenoid, for him it's as routine as blinking is for us. That's why these agents react at lightning speed. They're not pulling a trigger, they're thinking the trigger. Here's the key moment, without this, it doesn't work. This is the theory that actually hooked me. Because when I figured out what the fuel Alanol really is, guys, I was honestly a little shocked. The whole plot of Cars 2 revolves around this new, eco-friendly, revolutionary biofuel. Sir Miles Axelrod is out there telling the world on every corner that Alanol is the future, the salvation of the planet, the end of dependence on oil. He even has a mascot Globy and the slogan All for One. And here's the truth. Alanol is not a fuel of the future and not an alternative fuel. By canon, in plain text, it's regular gasoline. Just gasoline. with one tiny addition. The scientists from the Lemon Syndicate added a special additive that makes it react to an electromagnetic pulse. That's it. The entire point of Alanol is so it can be remotely detonated by that EMP camera. The camera, disguised as a regular World Grand Prix TV broadcast camera, fires a directed electromagnetic beam, kind of like a microwave. The beam hits a fuel tank containing Alanol. The additives inside start resonating. The liquid heats up to vapor in a fraction of a second. The pressure goes through the roof. The cylinders rupture. The engine detonates. From the outside, it looks like defective alternative fuel blowing up racers. From the inside, it's a perfect murder. No evidence, no traces. And Axelrod's entire plan was built on one thing: discredit alternative fuel so the world panics and goes back to regular oil. And he, by total coincidence, secretly owns the largest untapped oil reserves in the Pacific Ocean. Just a marketing move. The most expensive marketing move in cartoon history, staging a series of live televised terrorist attacks just to sell more gasoline. And the cherry on top. Remember the finale where they try to blow up McQueen in London from the big Bentley clock tower? The camera spins up to 100%, locks on, fires, and McQueen just keeps driving. Why? Because Sarge, the old army Jeep, the veteran, secretly drained the Alanol from his tank and refilled it with Fillmore's natural organic biofuel. That hippie Volkswagen everyone laughed at. The hippie saved the world because his dirty organic fuel doesn't react to EMP. But there's an uncomfortable truth about the military side of this universe. Going back to the beginning, I said this isn't just a cartoon. Skipper Riley, Dusty's mentor in Planes, has a combat past, and it's heavier than what's shown on screen. Skipper is a 1943 carrier-based fighter, 6 Browning M2 heavy machine guns, 50 caliber, 375 rounds per barrel. He commanded the squadron Jolly Wrenches, based on the carrier Fleisenhauer. Their one confirmed combat mission was at the Glen Coco Canal, and what happened there was straight up hell. By the way, about Sergeant Skipper, I have a separate video, definitely check it out on the channel. The squadron, basically rookies under Skipper's command, ran into a Japanese strike force in the fog. And not just one ship. When the fog cleared, in front of them was an entire flotilla of Yamato-class battleships, which in real history are the largest and most heavily armed battleships ever built. And every single one was covered by the thickest anti-aircraft umbrella imaginable. The squadron went in for the attack. Exactly one came back. Skipper. All the other pilots, Jigsaw 2, Jigsaw 4, Lucas, Charlie, Scotty, McKinley, George, died in combat. This is the largest canon loss in the entire franchise. And after that, Skipper didn't fly for decades. He has real PTSD, written in plainly. And when you look at this grumpy, silent teacher of Dusty after knowing that you see someone who lived through a massacre of his own guys over the Pacific, but that's not even the scariest part. Stop and let me break this down deeper. Remember Rod Torque Redline from the opening of Cars 2? The great American spy who hides on an oil rig and gets captured by the Lemons? Well, his disguise isn't a hologram. It's a physical body transformation. By canon, he literally morphs from a powerful Dodge Challenger into a rusty AMC Gremlin on a molecular level. He actually reshapes his own body, and when they caught him, they didn't just rough him up. They strapped him to a dynamometer, force-fed him Alanol, revved his engine to high RPMs, and shot him with that same EMP camera at full power. His engine, meaning his heart, exploded from the inside. This was public torture for interrogation purposes. In a kid's movie. I'm telling you seriously, guys. Go rewatch this with sober eyes. Moving on. The heavy artillery in this universe. Tony Trihull, the gray shark-shaped warship from the finale of Cars 2. The one Finn blows up in the London dock. He's not just set dressing. His design is a direct copy of the real American littoral combat ship USS Independence LCS-2. A trimaran, hull number 02. And he's armed for real a missile turret with the RIM 116 system, which is real American naval anti-air defense, side-mounted torpedo tubes, machine gun turrets, and a combat electromagnet on a cable for grabbing targets. Finn kills him, brilliantly tosses magnetic mines from his undercarriage onto Tri-Hull's crane. The mines stick to the electromagnet, the ship pulls its own bomb toward itself, and detonates. It's basically a trick against weapons making a weapon eat itself. And by the way, this pulls another thread. Remember the Queen of England's palace guard in the finale? Land Rovers with rifle barrels welded onto their sides? Those aren't toys. Those are real British Lady 5 assault rifles. The same ones in service with the British Army. Just permanently welded to the bodies of the guards. And here's the serious part in a world of living machines. A Royal Guard soldier is literally fused with his weapon. No hands, no trigger. The rifle is part of his body. That's somewhere on the line between soldier and cyborg. And here's another wild thing I never noticed. At the very start of Cars 2, Leland Turbo, another CHROM, E-agent, passes intel to Finn and walks into an ambush. They don't kill him with a bullet. They compact his body into a cube, right there on the oil rig. Finn later sees this cube and gets visibly sick. It's a direct reference to execution methods from Bond movies, but in a kid's film, this literally means crushing a living being into a metal brick. Just so you understand how the Shadow War works in this world. And now the most controversial part. The most famous fan theory, and I'm not saying this is canon, it's absolutely not canon. Pixar has never confirmed it. But the logic explains everything, and that's what makes it creepy. There's this site Jalopnik where the analysts laid out the homunculus theory. According to it, inside every car sits an atrophied human hooked up to a life support system. On my channel, I've talked about this multiple times already, but I'll explain it again. The cabin of the car is his pod. And here's the kicker. In Pixar production materials, animator Rob Gibbs straight up says that cars can't open their doors because, quote, their brain is in there, cabin equals skull. And in that light, the homunculus theory becomes literal. There really is a brain in there, just not in the form of neurons, but in the form of a person. The doors aren't doors anymore, they're a seam that can't be opened. Or the owner dies. The giant eyes on the windshield are, by the theory, VR lens projections worn by the human inside. The engine processes gasoline into a nutrient solution, and shooting becomes trivial, the human inside pulls a classic trigger. Like a pilot in a cockpit, the whole universe turns into a post-apocalypse where humans voluntarily crawled into metal prisons. I don't subscribe to it, but it explains everything. Now let me step to the side for a second, but if you remove the homunculus by pure world logic, it gets even scarier. Cars can't do anything with hands. Reloading Gatling guns, loading belts of ammo into the wings of a Corsair, mounting rocket launchers in Finn's headlights, all of that is done by the one class of cars with actual manipulators. Forklifts. The little guys like Guido, they have forks. They're the only ones who basically have hands. Which means in wartime, forklifts are the most valuable resource on the planet. Without them, no fighter gets armed. No rocket gets mounted on a pylon. Which means in a world where the elite are spies, racers, and warships, the real power is in the hands of the working class that no one notices. Guido is essentially the infrastructure king of this entire world. Without him, Skipper doesn't fire a single shot. And one last thought, and then I'm closing this out. Skipper flew a Corsair. The Corsair's nose machine guns are mounted in the wings behind the propeller. To keep him from shooting his own blades off, real planes had a synchronizer, a mechanism that ties the spinning propeller to the gun trigger. The guns only fire when the blade isn't covering the barrel. Now imagine Skipper is alive, his engine is his heart, and the propeller spins at the rate of his heartbeat. Which means when he's dive bombing the Yamato and his heart is pounding with adrenaline, the propeller spins faster. The synchronizer fires more often, the density of fire goes up. The rate of fire of his machine guns is literally a function of his pulse. He shoots more the more scared he is. And there's something both beautiful and absolutely terrifying about that. So here's the bottom line. Cars and planes aren't just cartoons about racing and saving friends. This is a universe with a fully developed military-industrial complex, hidden intelligence agencies, a weapon of mass destruction disguised as a TV camera, veterans diagnosed with PTSD, mind rewiring factories like Motor Co., and the paradox of cars without hands that get solved either by telepathy, voice, or something much darker. McQueen races around the track, and parallel to that, there's a global shadow war over oil where they torture people to death, compact bodies into cubes, and send squadrons crashing into the ocean. And once you see it, there's no going back. But the most important question is if they can modify themselves with cannons and all this other insanity, why couldn't they just swap McQueen's engine or do something so he could beat freaking Jackson Storm? The answer is in my last 2 videos. Until next time, friends,